Hello makers, this is the second project that I'm making for the Tim Holtz Everyday Ideology line. And today's project is going to be a vignette tray. I'm going to use the large vignette tray. So the vignette trays come in a set of two. There's the small tray and then the large tray, and I'm going to use the back side of the large tray. I'm going to cover the back side with one of the new products that I just absolutely love. And those are the collage strips, large. So last year we were introduced to collage strips, the just regular collage strips. But this year we have large collage strips. Look how beautiful these are. So I've gone through and I have pulled the blue collage strips. And I'm going to be covering the whole back side with the blue collage strips. But just like regular collage strips, these large ones also come in all the wonderful color palette, just like the regular ones that were released last year. Lots of great imagery, wonderful colors for just about any project that you want. So I really love this product. And so I'm excited to cover this. It's probably the first thing that I'm going to go ahead and get started on, because once you get this covered, you know, you feel like, yeah, I am there. I'm really moving on this project. It's kind of gives you a boost to really get going. So then from the paper dolls, remember the paper doll pack that was released with this release is called Poses. And in it were some cars and some homes. And so I'm going to be using a house on here. And I haven't decided exactly which one yet. It's going to depend. But I could use this one, I could use this one, I could use this one. All right, and so let's just pretend I'm using this one. I don't know. I'm also going to be using some of the new mini stencil chips, and I'm going to be spelling out the word home. And I kind of would love to be able to light this up. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that done and have it work on here the way I want, but I really would love to do that. Then I have the Salvaged hearts, and I'm going to let them tell the story without me having to say anything. So I want to invite you to come with me and let's get making. The first step was to trim down the collage strips so that they fit the width of the tray. And so I did that, and basically it just comes down to deciding which parts of the strip that you want to cut off and you don't think that you want to use as part of your background. And then the next step is to find the center of the tray so that you can make sure that the strips are start on the center, and then you can work out to each side. So that's what I've done there. And then I decided, okay, well, which strips do I want where? And I realized that I was going to need to cut one of the strips in half. So I chose that one, cut it in half. And this one I wanted in the center, and then I worked my way out. So to attach paper or something to a vignette box or tray or panel, you just need to brush on a nice layer of distressed collage medium, and then you lay your papers on there and press them down into the collage medium to make sure that they adhere to the piece. And I often use a towel, as you can see, and wipe off any excess and make sure that it's nice and flat and smooth and adhered to the tray. All right, I love this so much, and I don't even want to cover it up because it's just love looking at it. Do you ever feel that way when you get started on a project and then you get the base part down and you're like, I just want to look at the base piece. I just love it so much, really. But I have to cover it up. So before I do, I'm going to sand the sides and get any extra bits off like I always do with my sanding block. And then I need to cover the sides. So I have been trying to choose what I'm going to use. I grabbed this grid piece from the Palettes Volume 5 backdrops. And so I thought that might go well. Or I could do this one from the Volume 5, which I really like how that brings in the dark blues. I could even go solid if I wanted, which might be nice to do the solid around the edges. So I'm still deciding on that. For the front, I went into the Palettes Ephemera pack and I pulled out, covering up my beautiful background, I pulled out this piece, I pulled out this piece, and I pulled out this piece to kind of go like this. And so see how that works with that. And then I thought that would make a nice little kind of thing that I could set, pop this up on so that it doesn't have quite as much to compete with, because if it's just on here, it's a lot to compete with. Then I'm going to put my hearts here, and I haven't decided what I am doing with the Salvaged hearts yet. I am leaning toward one application, and I'm going to practice it on a Salvaged Santa to see what I think. All right, so anyway, I'm off to practice my Salvaged hearts application and see if it's going to work. And then if it does, I'll come back and I'll show you what I'm going to do. My first plan didn't work, and that's because I let my texture paste dry out. So I was going to put Distress Translucent Crackle texture paste on these, let them crackle, and then I was going to put chipped sapphire into the crackle and have these kind of be like white with blue cracks on there. I thought that would look cool, but I don't have a place around here that I can buy new texture, crackle texture paste, so I have to order it, and I don't have time for that. So I'm going to try something else, and what I'm going to try is adding some collage paper to these. So these are two new types of collage paper. These are the Archives collage papers, and so they are more things like, receipts and lots of text and graphics and those kinds of things. Numbers. All right. And then this one is the Serendipity collage paper, and this one's my favorite. So you've got this, a little bit of text, and then a lot of florals that you could color once you put onto something. And so I have some ideas for using these, but for today, my focus is the hearts. And so I kind of, at first I pulled this from the Archives, and then I saw this one with the postage stamps, and I decided I needed the postage stamp one with the writing. And then I love this writing also. So I think I'm going to go with Serendipity instead of Archives, and I'm going to collage it on here. And then, yeah, Leota likes this idea. And then I'm going to put a little bit of opaque crackle paste over it so that you don't see all of this. And then I'll add a little bit of the blue to pull it all in. So I hope that this looks good as it looks in my head. Because I only have this one set of Salvaged hearts, so I hope I don't ruin them. All right, are you with me? Let's go ahead and let's be brave and let's just do it. Well, I ended up choosing the text piece, and so I start by tearing it up into little pieces that I can collage onto the hearts a little bit easier. And I decided to save that postage stamp one for another project. And so as you can see, I just started brushing with a small brush onto the hearts, some collage medium, and then I laid the paper on it, and then I cover it with another layer of collage medium, and you can see how it kind of becomes translucent, and you can see the heart through it. And so once I did that, it actually molds right around onto the heart so easily that this really went fast, and I was surprised at how much I really liked the look. Um, it's absolutely wonderful. So it's really easy to do this. I highly recommend it, and it dried quickly, and even the the layer of collage paper that's on the back, even though it was several layers, it really wasn't too bulky. It's very thin and it worked beautifully. Now, once I did that to the hearts, I decided that I wanted some text to go behind the letters on the mini stencil chips. So I got a piece of vellum out and I trimmed off this piece of script from the bottom of that floral, also from Serendipity. And then I uh, attached it with collage medium and dried it. You can see a little bit of it came up there, and so I added a little bit more collage medium to the vellum to get that collage paper to stick to it. And then once it was nice and dry, you can see that it just adds something to the letters. And I thought that it would also kind of diffuse the light that I want to put behind them. And then to attach the letters onto the vellum, I just brushed on some collage medium and then I pressed them down onto the vellum and I let that dry, and I think that's going to work perfectly. Aren't these hearts wonderful? I love them. Now, I can never leave things alone. So I got out my opaque crackle paste because I just had crackle on my mind for these hearts and I couldn't get past it. And so I decided, well, I'll use my opaque crackle paste and I'll put it over these because as beautiful as they were just too busy with all of the script to go onto the panel as they were. And so I thought, oh, well, this opaque crackle paste will allow the, you know, it would allow things to show through just enough that it wouldn't be too busy and I would still get my crackle. So I used my finger, smeared opaque crackle paste, as you can see, all over the hearts, and then set them aside to dry. So far, it's going pretty well. You saw that I covered these with the collage paper and the Distress Collage Medium, let that dry, and then I took the Distress Crackle Paste in opaque, since I don't have the translucent, and went over that with my finger, let it dry, and I actually am happier with this because I think it's less busy on the background than it would have been if I had done the clear. So I think this is going to work out. Now I am going to distress these, and I kind of wanted them to be blue crackle. So here's where I'm kind of super nervous about this, but I'm going to add chipped sapphire blue with a water brush and see how it looks and if this turns out. So, all right, wish me luck. Final step for the hearts. So I added some gold around the edges with some of the gilded boundary wax. So I just put it on my finger, as you saw, kind of wiped around, and then used a brush to get into the crevices there. And so I just went around kind of the flat edges because I wanted it to pull in. I want to pull in just a little bit of the brass from the chips. And then I also put it, whoops, on my corners so that I can kind of have it everywhere. But I feel like it's just so stark between here and here. So I am going to use a little bit of my walnut stain and blending brush, and I'm gonna do, oops, it's not coming out, 1 squirt. Okay, there we go, to get it to move. And then I'm gonna go around the edge just age it a little bit. So it's still blue, but now it's aged a bit. There we go. Once I had the hearts all distressed, I decided to cover the sides of my vignette tray. And so you do that exactly the same way that you cover the front. And so I'm just using strips of both of the papers that I showed earlier in the tutorial, the script and the grid paper, both from the Volume 5 palette backdrops pack. And so I figured those were light, and so they wouldn't detract too much from all of the pattern on the front, but they give it a nice finished look. So there you go, just a nice layer of distressed collage medium. Put the strips on, trim off the corners, and then of course afterwards I did go ahead and sand that. And so while that was all drying, I decided I wanted to color the house that I chose, and so I chose the bigger house. And you can see I am coloring direct to the paper doll or the paper house. This is from the Paper Dolls Poses pack. And so the paper dolls and these houses and the cars and everything else all have kind of a seal to them. It's a shiny, I guess, glossy finish to them. And so you don't have to put anything on them to color on them with either the distress crayons or these distress watercolor pencils. I just colored directly on it. I didn't prepare it or do anything like that. And they don't smudge as well as you kind of will see me every once in a while use my finger to kind of smudge. And they don't smudge like the distress crayons do, but they do kind of smooth out a little bit when you're coloring on there with the pencils. And so a lot of times I would just take my finger and kind of rub across there just to kind of smooth it out just a little bit. You can also probably see that I have chosen colors to go with my color scheme. So I colored the house yellow with fossilized amber, and the roof brown, the chimney red, and I'm going to come in with chipped sapphire for the trim on the house. And then I did use a little bit of color on my people and their clothing just to have them stand out a little bit. Wow, it has been a while since I checked in, and I'm so sorry about that. But this happens when I get to the end of the deadline, and I am just, working on several things at the same time and struggling to make sure I get them finished. So let me update you on a couple of things, because then I'm going to be gluing all of this down. So none of this is really glued down except for the background. And you can see that I have actually changed a lot since I last checked in. So thing number one is all that time I spent on the hearts, and then I decided I didn't like them for this. I loved them, but not for this piece. I didn't choose wisely with my colors or textures or whatever. So what I ended up doing was just painting them all with fossilized amber distress paint right over that crackle, drying it. Then I took a sanding disc and just sanded along the raised areas and sanded off some of that, knocked it down just a little bit, and then I went over everything with Distress Walnut Stain crayon and a blending brush to just kind of get in there and get down in those crevices where all the blue used to be. And then there they are. So, and you'll also notice I have 4, not 5. Okay. So I took the largest one that was this size, and I wanted to see if I could get this application off, and I was able to scrape it and soak it off, but then I didn't like it just plain. So I will maybe try and get this paint off for another application. We'll see, but I'm sticking with just the 4. I think it's, you know, it's better. There were just too many, and I was trying to fit them all on. Another thing that you'll notice is that the home is raised up, and I have some of those screw heads on it. So let me show you that. So here it is. It's got some screw heads on it. I'm going to put a little bit of white paint on the screw heads, and then I will attach them there. I also added half of an arrow to this side, and I will be painting that with some white paint. So I actually could have that one, or if I want, I could do the other side. I just cut it in half, and I could do this if I wanted, which is kind of fun too. So I haven't quite decided which one I'm going to do, but I'm going to have half of an arrow kind of coming out of the house. And then I have over here a little bit of the clippings stickers, and they say peace, happiness, and love, thoughts that whisper to my heart, longing for home. And last but not least, home is popped up because it lights up now. So it's not stuck down. I didn't stick it down. I actually made a little box for it, so I'm going to set this aside because I haven't stuck those screw heads down yet. But you can see that there's a hole right here where I drilled a hole and I put the lights through, and then I just wound them around themselves so that they can be here at the top and then mostly at the bottom once I stick this down. And then this is what the box looks like. It's really just 1/4 inch chipboard that I cut into 2 strips, and I laid the home face down, and then I made sure that this fit behind it so that when I put glue on the top edge and I glue this to the back side of this, it will stick and stay. Okay, so I also covered this in some of that grid paper. And so the last thing I want you to see is that I cut out about 1/8 of an inch chunk from this corner, and that's because when I do attach this, it is going to attach onto this corner of the house here. And so I needed it not to be, you know, kind of raised up in that corner. I wanted it flat when I put this on here because I don't want any light coming out. So once I do attach this onto the box, I'm going to put some foam tape. I have just some thin foam tape that I'm going to put on this side and then on that side and at the end as well to kind of seal it just a little bit more in those areas. And then I can actually stick this to the top part of the foam tape on both sides. And then when I put this on there, I won't have the lights behind the numbers like this. They'll be at the top and they'll be hidden under the bottom, but you'll just see the home gently light up. Okay, so that's why I'm going to all the trouble of trying to keep the lights at the top and the bottom. So, and that'll work. This is just wire right here. Okay. I also haven't stuck these down yet, but I'll stick these down with some Collage medium, and I will stick the hearts down. This heart is raised up a little bit because it's on the house. So the house, and the reason I had to cut the 1/8 of an inch out is because the house has some chipboard behind it. This is a thick chipboard that I cut with my scissors. It's too thick to go into any of the cutters. And then I also colored this with Distress watercolor pencils, and I didn't use any water. I just colored it. And I thought I would use, you know, some of the fun colors and then different colors on the people. And underneath, just to set it apart from the busy collage strip background, which, you know, I absolutely love this background. But so that the house doesn't get completely lost, I pulled some dark, I think this is chipped sapphire blue to me. The autograph book cover, this was almost looks like the back of a playing card, and I just cut it in half, so I have this to use on something else. So I put that at the top. This advertisement, a little light blue, and then this gold because it pulls in the gold from the home brass chips and also from the hearts, and then half of an arrow. So I can either use this half or I can use the half with the point to it. So I just cut them with some, you know, heavy duty wire cutters that I had. I just chipped it in half. And so now I will put this here. And so that just kind of gives it a little place to, you know, stand out from everything. And then the heart will go in the corner. All right. I wanted to walk through with you how I'm adhering the light box and the lights. So you saw me just put some collage medium around the bottom of that box that I built, and I adhered it over that corner of the house and let both of those dry in place. And now I'm adding foam, pieces of just foam tape all around the bottom of that box so that I don't have any light that's sneaking out around the bottom of the box. And then I'll take the paper off here, and I'm going to adhere those lights right onto the foam so that they're at the top and the bottom. And there you can see the lights coming through, but it's not right directly behind the letters. Now I'm adding more collage medium to the top of the box, and I'm going to pop those letters right on, and there we have it. Look, I finished. Oh, I wasn't sure about this one. My goodness. All right. Let's talk a little bit about this. And before I begin, I want to thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for putting up with the fact that, you know, sometimes these tutorials can get a little crazy. And that's really because you can see that I am starting from the very beginning and I'm going all the way through. I'm designing as I go. I'm making mistakes as I go. And I know that this one, I'm going to try and leave in a lot of edits of things that I'm changed or that I maybe messed up on or I ended up not liking. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I want you to see that I can't speak for everyone, but I know for myself that I really struggle sometimes when I'm designing a piece and I have in my head and on my sketch exactly what I think it's going to look like. And then I decide I don't like it, or I don't like parts of it, or I'm frustrated with it, or whatever. Something doesn't go right. And so then I start changing things. And so I wanted to leave all of that in. So I know this is probably going to be a little bit of a longer video, just because I do want to leave that in so that you can see that. All right. Also, I want to thank you for putting up with the fact that sometimes I end up working off camera. So I try to cut those parts out when I edit, but then sometimes that ends up like I'm missing chunks of things and I have to tell you later on what I did with that. All right. So thank you for putting up with that, but that just comes with the territory of me actually making and designing while I'm videotaping live. And so sometimes I just get so focused in on it and I pull it in and I'm working, you know, where I can see it. And so, and I'm not really focused on the fact that, oh, you know, can they see that on the tutorial? So thank you for putting up with that. Now let's talk about some of the details that ended up actually staying on this piece since I changed so many. So that outside edge, I just used those light backdrops, papers, and then the whole backdrop is the large collage strips, and in the beautiful blues. I just love this background. I know it's super busy, but I just love it. I could just sit and just look at it. I think just, you know, Paula did such a beautiful job pulling all these little bits and pieces together. So pretty. Now we have our focal point, which is the home, and I colored that with Distress watercolor pencils straight on to the paper doll home. So this is from Paper Dolls Poses. That we have the house in a couple of different sizes. Now, just to help it stand out, I have those pieces of ephemera from the Palette Ephemera Pack that was released in 2023. I add a little part of that arrow here. My hearts, oh my goodness, the hearts, right? Okay, so the hearts went through so many different things that I did to them, and I probably only needed to do one or two of those things, but that's okay. So now they ended up being colored and painted with that fossilized amber, sanded, and then adding just a little bit of Distress crayon and walnut stain. And they really look like salvaged hearts now, right? Because they have actually been salvaged. I salvaged them from the mess that I made. And then this one, I just added a little bit more. I wrapped it with some string, and then I tied that typed, tag maybe, onto it, and it says focus on the good. And again, I just added a little bit of that white paint, the Picket Fence Distress paint, and tied that on there. So I think that's still drying actually because it's moving. Then over here we have home, and I will show you that that is raised up on that little 1/4 of an inch of chipboard. And I sealed it, and then you saw that I put those bits of foam tape on, you know, all around each side to try and make sure that the light didn't shine out from the bottom too much. And also it gave me something to stick the lights to up at the top and up at the bottom. I did add a little bit of collage medium over those so that eventually it will dry, and that collage medium will also hold it on just in case it gets hot and the lights fall. That will, you know, keep it on there. And we have our little sentiment from the Clippings sticker book: peace, happiness, and love, thoughts that whisper to my heart, longing for home. And I think this is just sweet, and it turned out really well in the end. Even though it went through so many changes, I'm happy with the way it turned out. All right, so I have rambled on enough here at the end. If I missed anything and didn't cover it in the edits with the voiceover, please ask me in the comments to this video or on my blog at playswellwithpaper.blogspot.com. On my blog, I will also have still shots, close-ups of this project, and I will have some brief explanations as to how I made this in the tutorial, so you will have both resources to be able to use. And then if you want any of these amazing products from Tim Holtz Ideology, I have them linked in the description for this video, and I also have them linked on my blog, and those are my affiliate links. So thank you so much for those of you that do use those. All right, that's it, my friends. So thank you so much for following along. Really, truly thank you. And I want to wish you a very creative day.